disillusioned with how Filipinos in the Philippines were regarded as second-class citizens in institutions of learning and elsewhere.
Rizal'S Travels.
The national hero Jose Rizal left the country in May 1882 to pursue further studies abroad. He enrolled in a course in medicine at the Universidad Central de Madrid in Spain. In June 1883, he traveled to France to observe how medicine was being practiced there. After his 3-month sojourn in France, Rizal returned to Madrid and thought about publishing a book that exposed the colonial relationship of Spain and the Philippines. This idea was realized in March 1887 with the publication of the novel Noli Me Tangere in Germany. Rizal was actively involved in the propaganda movement composed of Filipinos in Spain who sought to direct the attention of Spaniards to the concerns of the Spanish colony in the Philippines. He wrote articles for publication in Manila and abroad, convened with overseas Filipinos to discuss their duty to the country, and called on Spanish authorities to institute reforms in the Philippines, such as granting freedom of the press and Filipino representation in the Spanish Cortes.
Number 2. France, 1885 to 1886. After his studies, Rizal traveled to Paris. We hear the continuous studies in ophthalmology. He also spent time in various French cities including Paris, which influenced his intellectual and revolutionary thoughts. Rizal arrived to Paris. He spent the whole day walking around and observing the beautiful cities. With Philippe Zamora and Conanan, he visited the Clinic Hospital to observe how the doctor Nisais treated the patients. He was stunned to see the advanced facilities in the accommodation in the said hospital. He again visited Dr. Nisais, who showed the technique of operation. Later, he went to see Tapitrain Museum. Number 3. Germany, 1886 to 87. Rizal lived in Heidelberg and Leipzig, studying ophthalmology under prominent German specialists. He also spent time in Berlin, where he wrote and published Noli Me Tangere, his seminal novel that criticized Spanish colonial rule and the Catholic Church. Number 4. United States, 1888. Rizal visited the United States briefly, traveling through cities like San Francisco and New York. His observation of American societies and its democratic institution influenced his views on governance and reform.
Noong 1887 hanggang 1892, bumalik si Dr. Jose Rizal sa Pilipinas, kung saan siya sumali sa mga reformang aktibidad at isinulat ang kanyang ikalawang nobela, ang El Filibusterismo. Ang kanyang aktivismo at mga ideya ang naging dahilan upang maging mahalagang figurya siya sa kilusang nasyonalista. Ang kanyang huling pagbabalik sa Pilipinas noong 1896 ay nagdulot ng kanyang pagkakaaresto at pagbitay na nagpasiklag sa Rebolusyon ng Pilipinas.
A hero exile in Dapitan.
Noong Hulyo 17, 1892, dumating si Dr. Jose Rizal sa Dapitan. Ipinalayas siya ng pamahalaang Espanyol dahil sa hinalang may kaugnayan siya sa rebellion.
So the first picture that is shown here is the bust of Commandant Captain Ricardo Carcinero Clay, made in Dapitan, that has been made by Dr. Jose Rizal from 1892 to 1893. And then the second picture is the house of Commandant Captain Carcinero that Dr. Jose Rizal stayed after he arrived at Dapitan. In September of 1892, Rizal won a Manila lottery ticket number 9736, jointly owned by Rizal, Carcinero, and Spanish residents in Dipolo, with a price of 20,000 pesos. With his share of 6,200, he bought a more than 10 hectares of land. Rizal also established a school in 1883. He also practiced in medicine, also engaged in farming and horticultures. Challenging the religion. In Dapitan, Rizal and Father Pablo Pastel had a scholarly debate regarding the religion. Father Pastel tried his best to win Rizal back to the faith, but unfortunately in vain. This series of debate ended inconclusively, in which neither of them convinced the other of his judgment or argument. In the letter, the superior said that Rizal could stay and live in the parish, but there are some conditions provided. 1. That Rizal publicly retract his error concerning religions and make statements that were clearly pro-Spanish and against revolutions. Number 2. That he perform the church rites and make a general confessions of his past life. 3. That henceforth that he conduct himself in an exemplary manners as a Spanish subject and a man of religion. Unfortunately, he did not abide with these conditions because Rizal is against Catholicism. That is why he chose to stay at his commandant Carcenero's residence, which is called Casaria.
January 1893, Jose Rizal told Ricardo Carnicero to stay on his own house. Rizal's house was completed March, where was able to cultivate lanzones, mango, macopa, langka, santol, mangosteen, and coca trees. Casa Yolanda Pequeña is a replica of the hexagonal poultry of Rizal, restored to its original hexagonal form with similar materials as the other huts. The poultry houses is big enough to accommodate a few dozen of chicken. Rizal carried a letter from the superior of the Jesuit Society of the Philippines, Father Pablo Pastels. The said letter is to be given to the Jesuit parish priest in the Pitan, Father Antonio Obac. Career of contribution of Rizal. Rizal had maximized his stay in the Pitan by devoting much of his time in improving his artistic and literary skills, doing agricultural and civic projects. Rizal also provided free medicine to his patients. Most of them were underprivileged. Rizal applied his knowledge through the waterworks system he constructed in the Pitan.
Casa Redonda is a replica of the octagonal clinic of Rizal, reconstructed with similar materials as the main house. It now stands as a reminder of the numerous medication performed by Rizal during his exile in the Pitan. It was also here where he removed his mother's cataract. It's fascinating detailed about Casa Redonda. It's amazing to think that this replica stands as a statement to Dr. Jose Rizal's medical skills and his dedication to help others even during his exile. August 1893, her mother, her sister Trinidad, and his nephew Angelica arrived in the Pitan. They lived with him for almost 1.5 years. He had many patients, not only in the Pitan, from the neighboring town as well. 3 of Jose's nephews went to the Pitan and had their early education. In 1895, Doña Tiroda left the Pitan from Manila to be with Don Francisco, who is getting weaker. Rizal as a scientist and philologist. Rizal found Mindanao as a rich, virgin field for collection specimens. Together with his student, they explored on a jungle and caused to seek for some specimen which will be sent to Europe. In return, the European scientists will send them scientific equipment. During his 4-year stay in the Pitan, he were able to build up a rich collection of oncology which consists of 346 shells representing 200 species. These are the example of specimens. The Pitan frog, beetle, flying dragon. Josephine Barken, studio portrait of Barken in Filipino attire, 1896. Barken was born in Hong Kong to Irish parents and was adopted by her blind American godfather. In 1895, Barken traveled to the Pitan to accompany her adoptive father who wanted to seek treatment from Rizal, an ophthalmologist who previously practiced in Hong Kong. There, Barkan and Rizal began their relationship but were unable to get married due to Rizal's conflict with the church official. Nonetheless, they cohabited and she gave birth to a premature son that they named Francisco, who died shortly after birth.
In 1895, Blumentrill informed Jose Rizal that the revolution ridden Cuba, another nation colonized by Spain. So, in 1895, a man named Blumentrill informed Jose Rizal about the dire situation in Cuba, which was struggling with both a revolution against Spanish colonial rule and a devastating yellow fever epidemic. December 1895, Jose Rizal wrote to Governor General Ramon Blanco volunteering to provide medical services. So Jose Rizal wrote to Governor General Ramon Blanco offering his medical services. This was during period of political unrest in the Philippines, and Rizal, who was a physician, sought to contribute to the welfare of his countrymen. July 13, 1896, Rizal received a letter from the Governor of General sanctioning his petition to serve as a voluntary physician. So, Jose Rizal received a letter from Governor General Ramon Blanco approving his letter to serve as a volunteer physician in Cuba, which was facing a war for independence from Spain. Rizal prepared to leave and sell and give souvenirs to friends and students and various properties. So Jose Rizal sold and distributed his personal belongings and souvenirs to friends and students. This act was a way for him to say goodbye and express his appreciation for the relationship he has formed. In late afternoon on July 31, Rizal got on the España with Josephine Narcisa, 3 of their nephews, and 3 of his students. On the late afternoon of July 31, 1896, Jose Rizal boarded the ship España along with his common-law wife, Josephine Bracken, his sister Narcisa, 3 of his nephews, and 3 of his students. This departure marked a significant moment in Rizal's life as he embarked on his journey to Cuba to serve as a volunteer physician, reflecting on his dedication to the humanitarian services.
Struggles, Trials, and Execution of Rizal.
Jose Rizal, the national hero of the Philippines, faced significant struggles and trials leading up to his execution. So, Jose Rizal faced numerous struggles and trials leading up to his execution on December 30, 1896. So, as a key figure of the Philippines, he fought against Spanish colonial rule. His major works, No Limitang Here and El Filibusterismo, critique the abuses of the colonial government and the Catholic Church, shedding light on the suffering of Filipinos. Rizal's activisms made him a target for Spanish authorities. He was arrested, tried for sedition, and ultimately executed. His death turned him into a martyr and a symbol of resistance, lightning nationalist sentiment among Filipinos. So he is celebrated as a national hero with his legacy inspiring movement for independence and nationality in the Philippines.
Upon his return to Manila, Rizal faced a highly publicized trial that was filled with biased judgment and predetermined outcomes. Despite presenting a strong and eloquent defense, his fate has been already sealed. On December 30, 1896, Rizal was sentenced to death by firing squad. Struggles and trials, surveillance and arrest, Rizal's advocacy for reform and his writings made him a target of the Spanish authorities. Exiled to Dapitan in 1892, Rizal was exiled in Dapitan, a remote town in Mindanao, due to his reformist activities. Accusations at trial. Rizal was accused of being involved in revolutionary activities, although there was no substantial evidence linking him directly to the Katipunan. Returned to Manila in 1896, Rizal returned to Manila under the guise of seeking medical treatment. Execution. Court-martial. Rizal was tried by a court-martial, a military tribunal rather than a civilian court. Death sentence. On December 26, 1896, Rizal was sentenced to death execution. Jose Rizal execution by firing squad on December 30, 1896 at Luneta, former Bagong Bayan in Manila. Alam niyo ba na kapwa natin Pilipino ang pumatay kay Dr. Jose Rizal? Noong December 30, 1896, 8 Pilipino ang sapilitang inutusan ng mga Espanyol upang barilin si Rizal. Sila ay napilitan lamang sapagkat kung hindi nila ito gagawin, ay sila naman ang papatayin ng mga Espanyol. Pero bakit nga ba pinatalikod si Rizal nang siya ay barilin? Ayon sa mga Espanyol, ay ang pagsubsob ng mukha sa lupa ay sumisimbolo ng pagkamatay na walang dangal. Pero matalino si Dr. Jose Rizal. Bago pa siya barilin ay bahagyang hinarap ang kanyang katawan upang mamatay na nakatingala sa langit. Simbolo na pagkamatay na may dangal. Dr. Jose Rizal's last word is consummatum est. It means it is finished. One of Jesus' last words when Jesus crucified.
Good day everyone, my name is Jessa Santos and I'm going to discuss about the execution of Dr. Jose Rizal. In his last hours, Rizal read the Bible of Thomas A. Kempia's Imitation of Christ, which he later dedicated to Josephine Bracken. He also wrote the poem of Ultima Dios, which he concealed in alcohol burner when his family came to see him, asked pardon from his mother, and talked to his sister as they entered his cell one by one. So he also wrote a letter in his address to Pasiano Rizal. He asked his brother to ask their father for forgiveness for all the pain that he had caused him. So this friend, Ferdinand Blomitrites, he wrote a letter for him. So he said then, when you receive this letter, I shall be dead by then. Tomorrow at 7, I shall shoot, but I am innocent of the crime of rebellion. I am going to die with a tranquil conscience. So this is the morning in December 30, 1896. Triumphant sounded to signal that the death sentence of Dr. Jose Rizal will begin at Bagong Bayan. Rizal walked calmly with his defense, which is with 2 priests. He was dressed elegantly in the black suit, black derby hat, black shoes with white shirt and black tie. His arms tied elbow to elbow where there are a lot of spectators lining to the street of Fort Santiago to Bagong Bayan. The statue of Dr. Jose Rizal will be founded at Luneta Park, where same place with the 3 priests had been killed in 1872. Now Luneta Park is located at center of Manila. So soon we will visit in Luneta Park and we will see the statue of Dr. Jose Rizal with 3 priests. And don't worry, I will show you some picture of Luneta Park.
In conclusion, Jose Rizal's life and works continue to inspire generations not only in the Philippines but around the world. His unwavering dedication to education, freedom and equality is reflected in his writings like No Limit ang Ire and El Filibusterismo. Sparked the awakening of Filipino nationalism. His intellectual pursuits, despite personal hardships and his ultimate sacrifice for the country, have cemented his legacy as the Philippines' national hero. Rizal's vision for a better more just society remains a guiding light for those striving for change and progress today. His contributions remind us of the power of knowledge, the importance of civic engagement, and courage to fight for what is right.